going on, Sanctuary? What's going on, Sanctuary? It's Noodle here, and today I'm bringing you a solid updated build for Diablo 2 Resurrected. This right here is the new and greatly improved Fire Druid. This build actually blew me away on the test realm, but I feel like the community has somehow been on the fence about this whole time. Well, today I'm going to explain why I think it's as good as it is, so without too much more of a delay, let's get to the action. For the gear on Ifrit's Forgotten Nephew, I will have this broken down into two parts, being early ladder and mid to late ladder, as well as some potential endgame swappables. For the early set, we have, of course, a spirit sword, some MF gloves, some random rings, and a 4-slot belt that you'll find along the way, boots with either MF, run speed, or resistance, spirit shield for all of its goodies, or even a splendor if you want a little bit more magic find without sacrificing too much power, stealth armor for the chest, a skill ammy that you'll find along the way, and a lore helm. This early setup is able to start cooking beef right after you kill Hell Bale, which is a huge plus. For the mid to late set, we have Hoto in the main hand, Mage Fist for the skill in FCR, one skill ring of your choice and a Raven Frost for the CBF, Arax for the skill in FCR, War Travs for the MF, Spirit again because it's just so OP, Skins for the skill, FCR and Res, Maras for the skills and even more Res, and lastly a Shaco for the skills and that huge MF. On swap, we have some more magic find gear, being Alibaba and a Rhyme Shield. Some of the end game exchanges here are Enigma if you end up getting wealthy enough for that, and then you can trade your Firstborn and your left leg for a solid base for the new OP-ass rune word, Flickering Flame. I only used 4 skillers for this and didn't use any small charms. As usual, anything and everything can be pushed further with sockets and more skillers, and you can use whatever the hell you want to use. This is just what I'm using to showcase this build. For the skills that Grillz, because, you know, fire, we have 20 points into Armageddon, 20 into Volcano, 20 into Fissure, 20 into Molten Boulder, and then the rest go into Firestorm to synergize everything else. You can put a point into Oak Sage, Cyclone Armor, and even Bear if you want a solid 3,000 life tank, which is what I did here. For the Stattattas, we have the usual, just enough strength to wear all of our shit, and then the rest go into Vitality. For the Merc on this one, there are a few options. In the early game, you can run an Insight Act 1 or Act 2 Merc for the mana regen, or even an Act 5 Berserker with Lawbringer for the Decrepify proc, but for the late game, as with most builds, the Infinity Act 2 Desert Boy is the way to go. The playstyle for this one is drastically changed now that none of the fire skills share a cooldown any longer. You just gotta make sure you keep up Armageddon, as its drop speed and AoE radius have been increased, as well as having its physical damage aspect pumped up like crazy. For most cases, you can just use Fissure and Molten Boulder for everything, but for those fire immunes that don't feel like dying, you just throw a Volcano into the mix. Since this build has 3 out of its 4 main skills dealing physical and fire damage, it reduces the need for Infinity by a substantial amount while still maintaining the ability to clear just about anything. However, with that being said, I would still recommend just cooking cows and running Stony Tombs for the first while until you get some more gear, and then you can run more complicated things like Chaos, for example. Objectively, this one can clear most things with no issues thanks to being a dual element build, and it's at a higher pace than most classes as well. I put it up on the cow clapometer and got a surprisingly fast 4 minutes and 17 seconds, putting it rather close to the Blizzard Sorceress. In my opinion, this build is in a very solid spot now and can even become a contender with some of the top builds in the endgame. I really think being able to cast all of your fire skills side by side like this is so much fun, and they're all aesthetic as fuck, so you really feel like you're bringing down the fires of hell. I would give this a solid 8.5 out of 10. So do me a favor and subscribe if you haven't already, and like this video so more people can see it, because I know there's a huge portion of the community who can benefit from one part of this or another. I stream all of my leveling, farming, and Uber operations live on Twitch quite a few times a week, so if you're looking for some live interaction and entertainment, make sure you follow from the link in the description down below. There will be a few other helpful links, like one to the Noodle Gang Discord, where a lot of us have been hanging out lately, so don't be a stranger and come on in. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. Happy grinding, travelers, and I will see you next week.